What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Nerdwide podcast, episode 64. My name's Tyler Haynes, and I am here with my good friend and favorite co-host, Mr. Chris Rivers. Now, Chris, we have got an exciting week. Both of our TV shows, all right, were pretty big for us. Obviously, Moon Knight having a new premiere, new show, new character, and everything. But something happened to Superman and Lois that we have been wanting to talk about and hoping it's been happening for 2 seasons now. So I want to get into that. But first, I want to find out, how was your week and how are you?
Week was pretty good. I had one night where, because I'm outside a lot at work,
Mm-hmm.
it poured rain one night.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, that wasn't fun. But no overtime, so I got to enjoy a lot of things.
Got to
What
live a
about
little
yourself?
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was your week?
It it was a pretty decent week. Allergies have been messing with me
Mm,
a little bit. Like I'm getting like my nose is always real scratchy and my eyes get real watery for randomly no reason. And it's just like, oh, it's a high pollen day, and I try to stay inside as much as I can on those days. But with a new puppy, it's really hard to do that. You got to take him out all the time. So
yeah.
uh, that's been that. Work's been fine, but it's been a really exciting TV week with our shows and
Yeah.
especially the movie. So, but
Yeah.
I just can't wait. I want to get into it. All right, let's do housekeeping real quick. Everyone, don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting service of your choice. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating for podcasting apps, whichever one you use. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, make sure you leave us a comment. Let us know how we can improve the show. As always, if you want to go the extra mile, you can always go to patreon.com/nerdwide. 3 different tiers there for 3 different monetary prices. If you wanted to do that for us, that would be great. If not, no big deal. All right, Chris. You been watching anything else other than these 2 shows this week?
From a TV perspective, no, I really didn't watch anything TV wise.
We have been, so we're big Circle fans of reality stuff, show stuff. We have put off for some reason the Circle season 3. The past 2 weeks, we actually started and watched it. We should be finishing it this week, season 3. We've got one more episode left, but I think as far as TV, that's all we've been watching. We watched Ghost because they had an episode this week. They do the same thing that CW shows do, where they take a month and a half off, and we've got no idea why, and then they come back with one episode. So this is what makes me so mad. The last episode was 4 weeks ago, and then we had this one this week, and then the next episode comes out in 2 weeks, and I'm just like, okay, I don't even know why I'm getting invested in this show, to be honest with you. So
Sounds like a good binge show.
yeah, it's going to have to be. I feel like at this point,
Yeah.
if you're just going to sit there and not give us episodes. So, but
Yeah.
anyways, you know who is giving us episodes for this week? It's Superman and Lois, season 2, episode 9, titled 30 Days and 30 Nights. We go to nerdsandbeyond.com by Haley for this one, of course, like we have been.
Good old
Super
Haley.
Boy's first save. Jordan has been training with Sam while Clark is stuck on the other side. We actually see, I don't know why I did start this way, but we see Clark go to the portal. He does this weird little spin move thing. I don't know what that
hmm
was about. We couldn't figure it out here in the Haynes household of
Momentum.
why. Yeah, we don't know why he'd spun and then he flew
He was
in.
trying to. Uh huh.
Oh, was he trying to get speed? Okay, that makes sense. I like that a lot
Yeah.
better. We were like, I don't know what he's doing. Is he trying to get a tornado? Is he trying to do like a flash thing? Oh, I've got a lot to talk. Oh, I got so much to talk about this with this episode
Yeah, he
because
was trying to get up his momentum so he could throw himself basically through there and
that
not
makes
get
a lot more
ripped
sense.
apart.
Okay, because we see Allie go in with the suit that Bizarro Superman came through with, and she went through just fine. We're assuming, and so we come to find out it's been a full month that he has disappeared, and the world's been moving on. They did it really well, I thought, where they were doing newscasts of like where we see everyone's lives between the boys and Lois, and we see them living their lives, but in the background there's newscasts going on of where is Superman. It's been a month since Superman's last been spotted, and so that kind of gives us a little timetable, and I really enjoyed how they did that. But this is what annoys me. Where's Supergirl?
Yeah.
I mean, this is in the CW verse or Arrowverse or whatever you want to call it, but it's the problem we've always had. Where are they?
Yeah.
And this episode would have been the perfect thing to bridge in. We haven't seen Superman, but Supergirl has stepped up. I mean,
Or anybody.
or anybody. And I understand they're trying to keep it separate, but you can't do that when you keep bringing in characters from those shows.
Right.
So, but what do I know?
It yeah. They keep dropping the ball on that.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to write them a strongly worded letter.
yeah.
Let them know that
Just-
we got to figure this out, guys.
right. Yeah, it just makes sense.
Yeah. So, who knows? But we see Superboy's first save. Jordan has been training with Sam while Clark is stuck on the other side. While helping elect Lana for Mayor Smallville, his hearing alerts him into an out-of-control fire. He quickly gets up to leave and heads to the scene. Once there, he helps one firefighter get to safety before Steele shows up and tells him to leave. Once Lois finds out that Jordan's been up to, she storms into the house angry to say the least, but with Superman gone and no sign of him coming back, Jordan feels he has to step up. Lois says he still needs to follow her rules, but as long as Jordan has powers, he feels he can make it his own. So, a lot to take in here, but that last sentence there really kind of cracked me up when she said it. She said, you have to listen to my rules while you're in this house. And he said, not when I have superpowers. I was like, yeah, I mean, he's right.
But and we should say too, it wasn't just any firefighter that he saved. It was Kyle.
Yeah.
It was Sarah's dad.
It was, and I really still like what they're doing with him.
Yeah, which makes what happens later sting even more.
It's such a good start to this episode with them doing the whole campaign, the ending of the campaign. I really hated that Jonathan had the issue in the school gym where the parents said it was my son's senior year and they ruined him. And I saw, because they kept showing the coach in the background, I said, is this coach not going to take up for his kid? But then the coach attacked Jonathan too. And I said, okay, well, I guess that's one route we're going to go with this. But, I mean, I get both sides of it when he's not even the one in the wrong. They just had to blame somebody. So the fire scene was really cool. I liked the little fire tornado thing. We found out it was because of a super with XK going through their veins. But I really thought this was fun. His first little save, I guess, him stepping up. A little small little episode like I was hoping we would get. And we get it for the most part. And with him, he comes home really excited to Jonathan. He says, dude, I saved Mr. Cushing. And he said, and I flew. And Jonathan gets really excited for him. He goes, what, you flew? And he was like, yeah, it wasn't very far. He said, but I did. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. I love this brotherly moment. But then they do what they've been setting up is the jealousy. And like the conversation kind of flips at a switch. And Jonathan gets pissed off at him. And it's just like, well, that's normal brother stuff. And it happens, especially with this family. Let's see. Candace's confession. Lois demands Jonathan tell her who is the ex-kryptonite dealer behind all the chaos in Smallville. After promising to keep their identity anonymous, John brings the perpetrator in. Identified to them as Candace, she apologizes to Lois for getting John in trouble. She tells him everything she knows about where it comes from. Finally, this happened, and I loved Bitsy's acting in this episode, particularly at this point, where when Candace walks into the room, she goes into full mom mode. And she said, hello, Candace. I was like, oh, I got chills because that was a death stare from hell, and I love it.
Yeah, that was however this works out, I don't want you around my son anymore.
And that's exactly what's going to happen, I feel like. Let's see. XK Operation. Sam, Lois, and Jordan find the location that Candace was talking about where the XK is being dealt. While they're ordered, Jordan is staying in the car, the Lanes get a visual of the entire operation. As Lois attempts to call it in, they're stopped in their tracks by just a random bad guy. And I want to see if they talk about it at all.
Who's also on XK.
Yeah, which is also on XK. Started having the glowing red eyes and everything's awesome. So this scene, I really, really enjoyed. This article doesn't really talk about it that much, but we get to the point they're both in chairs, they're about to get shot and killed. Like there was classic gangster bad guy mentality, which I really like. They didn't really talk to these people. They said, okay, we're gonna have to kill them. And so the dude just walks up with a gun and they sit there and talk to Jordan, and he hears them. He bursts into the room, and before the one guy could take a shot and kill his grandfather, he stops him, and then a guy with XK comes in, his eyes light up and he shoots his heat vision. And then Jordan sees it, and I was like, oh my God, someone's about to get hurt here. I really thought when they started slowing this scene down, I was like, okay, the grandfather's about to throw himself in front and get killed. But no, 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 no. Jordan's powers become, I guess, his more matured, and time slows down, and we see it so well done. We follow the heat ray vision, and we see Jordan, and he kind of just sidesteps it and looks at it real cool, and then stops the guy, and that was pretty much the end of the scene. I was like, okay, that was awesome. They took a bit out of the Flash with the slow speed and everything. And I loved it.
I love when we first see Lois and Sam tied up, and he's sitting there and he's trying to get loose, and she gives him this education on the knots.
Right.
I can't remember what kind of knot she says it is, but she's like, that's such and such type of knot. The more you struggle, the tighter it's going to get.
Right.
It'd be different if it was this kind of knot. And he's like, how many times have you been tied up? She's like, you probably don't want to know.
Right. Which is, it's honest and true, and I loved it. And it's just so great because that's what their characters would do. And I really love that. We get the new mayor of Smallville after a long day of surveying and putting their boots to the ground. Their votes get tallied. Lana wins the mayoral race by a wide margin. In her first speech as mayor, she thanks everyone for their help, and she couldn't have done it without them. Moving on to the waffles and memories. On the anniversary of her mom's death, Natalie tries to perfect her waffle recipe to have breakfast with her dad. Frustrated it's not working, John tells her not to worry and they'll be late to help the canvas for Lana. Natalie is upset John doesn't realize the significance of the day, but once he does, he makes it up to her. At dinner, he makes the special waffles and they watch old family videos, including Natalie's birth. And I was completely on board with Natalie this whole episode, and I got it. You know what I mean? But I also got John's point of view as well.
Yeah.
And then they had that nice little touching family moment on the couch where they were eating the waffles and talking about it all. And it's just so well done. And I love how we've got all these different family. Honestly, the show is about family. It's not so much about Superman and Lois. It's a family show where it's following our three families, I guess. And I just really like how all the dynamics are doing it and with superheroes on the shine, if you will.
Yeah, and like you said, his view of it. First off, he's coming off the brain injury where he still thought her mom was alive, and then he's kind of having to relive the fact that she's dead, and you don't want to sit there and just wallow in it all the time. You know, he's not going to forget her mom, but he doesn't want to live in constant pain, emotional pain either. So he wants to learn to live with it.
Yeah.
But it's like she was wanting him to, she was wanting him to just be all about it all the time.
Well, it's a very teenager way of thinking with it, you know. And like I've said before, they do each of these dynamics. The writers have it down so well that they know what they're doing, and it's just very evident in season 2. And then the fallout, and this is what we were hinting at the beginning of this episode. After a talk with her dad, Sarah decides to put herself first and know her worth. Unfortunately, that means breaking up with Jordan. Jordan takes it so hard as Lois consoles him on their porch. Suddenly, John, in quotation, appears, but it's not their world's Jonathan. Lois asks where Superman is, and he tells him he was too late, and as a visual of Superman flashes at the end, he looks terrified. The significance of this, our Jonathan on our world is walking Candace home, which is forever, I felt like, because, you know, they started at the first half of the episode, and then last half they're still walking through the city town, so I don't know where they live, but it's obviously very far away from the Kent household. Anyways, our Jonathan hears a screeching sound, but it was almost like the power, like the super hearing that we hear, because there's always a little audible tone we hear with Superman and Jordan, and I was like, oh my God, he's getting his powers. And then we flip over to the Kent household, and we see this greased-looking Jonathan from Bizarro World, and he knows how to talk normal, which I thought was different as well, because at first he talks backwards, like they normally do, and then he switched it. So I don't know what that's about, because the only reason we knew about the Bizarro Superman speech was from the Fortress of Solitude. So I don't know if that has any significance, but I truly do think we are getting Jonathan and starting to get his powers now. But I could see they do it that way, or they could do it with we talked about before the episode with him, with both Supermen on Earth getting visions and things like that. So I don't know how they're going to handle this, but I truly do think it's them, Jonathan, getting his powers with this.
Yeah, I agree. It, it's going to be interesting because he's walking Candace home when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, "Go on home, I'll be fine. It's just 2 blocks." We never see her for the rest of it because it's right at the end of the episode, but you know something has happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because anytime somebody in that situation goes, it's only a couple of blocks,
Yeah.
somebody's
Classic
going to
TV
get
trope.
Yeah. So something's going to happen that he has to try and save her. I'm guessing the Bizarro version of himself maybe gets involved.
Right.
Something. But you wonder, do they kill her off?
Oh, I think Lois would be happy about that.
And I wonder when it comes out. It may not ever come out, but what Sarah's reaction is going to be when she finds out the reason that she didn't get put first is because Jordan was saving her father's life.
Which is such a big plot point this whole episode. And we see him in the hospital, and he's obviously not doing well. And they even say, this is your fault. I mean, this is, the reason you're in this situation is 100% your fault, which is true. But he's in the hospital saying, hey, I understand you were doing your thing. He goes, I told them not to call you guys. And they all come in the hospital. And then we see Sarah go to his apartment because he's worried about him. And she brings some food for him. And it's a very, very rundown apartment. And he doesn't have anything up on the walls. He says, because if I don't have anything up, it's not permanent. And then, we see him bleeding through the back of his shirt from his wounds. And I was like, yeah, I like this.
Yeah, so wait, because as someone who's an RN, is the hospital going to let him go if he still has open wounds that he's bleeding out of?
So they gave him bandages because that's what was in the bag that she brought over because she asked.
Wouldn't they bandage him?
Yeah, and I think they did either that or where he left against medical advice and just kind of got up and left, said, hey, I'm fine, I'm leaving. But yeah, when they show him from the back and he's got bleeding wounds, I'm like, I don't think he would have been gone that soon. I mean, things don't work that fast anyways, especially. Right. But that's what I think. Either he, as a nurse, that's what I'm thinking is he left to get some medical advice and said, okay, I'm not staying here for the night, because typically you would stay there at least under observation for the night, especially if you got wounds like that and you're a firefighter, smoke inhalation, things like that. But I also didn't see where he got cuts and stuff that severe on his back anyways throughout the episode, because I mean, Jordan saved him, protected him, unless it was his body that broke the impact of the wall.
Probably so.
But
rookie mistake by Jordan.
Yeah, rookie mistake. But he's learning. He couldn't even stop the fire. But I thought that was really cool. And then she was like, I don't feel like he's putting me first. And she said, there's always something, and I just don't feel like I'm being put first. And he says, but what every dad should say. He goes, if there is someone that's not giving you 100% of their time, you don't need to be with them. But I can't wait, and I don't know if it's going to be this season, or I'm sure it'll be next season with season 3 being confirmed and everything, that's when we'll get a reveal. But Lana still doesn't know about Clark, and I'm still baffled by the way. So I don't know if they're going to do that whole family of they don't know. I want Kyle to find out about the Kents before anybody else does, though, because the way that he would react to it all, I feel like would be a much better plot point. Because, she could be crying about Jordan, and he's like, what, I get it. He says, a complete 180 to what he's doing in this episode. He's
like, chance.
Yeah. And I would love to see that. I kind of like that trope. So, yeah. But Lana would be pissed off because that's another secret, though, that could divide them more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd just be fun. So, but that was this week's episode, and for some reason, we've got to wait another 3 weeks until we get another episode.
Can they just stream this?
Right.
Be done with it.
So, I enjoyed it. We got a lot of plot devices. We finally got the candidacy where we finally got the results of the election, so she is now mayor, and I'm really excited to see what that happens there. So, okay, Chris, what we're all here for: Moon Knight, episode 1, the goldfish problem. Now, I got the spoilers tag up for all of this. We're going deep into full spoilers here, and I'm going to a website called thereviewgeek.com for the recap. And then we'll talk about all the Easter eggs that were in this, because apparently there were a lot. So I'm not very familiar with Moon Knight. I know that from people that have read the comics, he is a schizophrenic with like a multiple personality disorder, and that's kind of what kind of the things. I know that his suit is all white because Moon Knight wants his enemies to see him coming. It's a very opposite of like Batman.
Yeah, anti-Batman.
Yeah. And that's why like they called him the mercenary in this episode. But I don't know what's your background with Moon Knight. Do you know anything about him going into this or anything like that?
Probably not much more than you.
Yeah.
He was always there. I mean, I read some comics with him in it, especially when I was younger, some of the stuff where he would cross over with another character or something, but not a ton. He was just never pushed, I guess,
right.
is one way of putting it, at that time. And so I was paying more attention to the bigger names, a lot of whom we've already had movies and properties like that of.
Yeah. So this was, going into this, I was very excited. I've heard it's creepy. I heard it's brutal. And for sure for both of them. So I'm going to go through the recap, and I'll stop me if you want to talk about anything as well. Episode 1 of Moon Knight begins with a strange, shadowy man shattering a glass inside of a cloth. Those shards of glass are emptied into his shoes, which he proceeds to put on and walk across the room. This scene eventually... Do what? You said no?
No.
Yeah, no, not me. No, I don't like pain. This scene eventually paves way for us being introduced to our protagonist, Steven. A former U.S. Marine, Steven lives alone and chains himself to the bed every night, complete with sand around his bed on the floor. His only company comes from a one-finned goldfish called Gus, and he works at the British History Museum. He wants to be a tour guide, but his constant tardiness and erratic demeanor is doing him no favors. He's an outsider, but he knows a lot about Egypt, which will be important later, but is largely overlooked in this role.
Now, wait a minute. They said he's a U.S. Marine?
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that until multiple reviews and recaps that I saw noted this, but I'm thinking to myself, I didn't catch on to that.
I didn't either.
So I wonder if I guess that's maybe his... Steven, I wonder, is this personality. I wonder if that's what happened. I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out more. Mark
is Mark the U.S. Marine?
So that could be it too. So I don't know, because I'm very curious how they're going to do this show. Like, do each episode we focus on one personality, or do we do it how we're doing? Which I really enjoyed how they did this, where we just followed Steven, and then we would have these seamless transitions to where like he lost time and like he's got blood or a gun in his hand, and I loved it. I was like, oh my god, it's really tripping with my brain, but I really like how they shot this.
Yeah, the thing that confused me about the U.S. Marine part is Steven speaks with a British accent. Mm-hmm. From everything we know of him, he's always lived in England. Right.
Calls his mom every day. Calls his mom's voice box.
Keeps having to leave her a voicemail, so something's up with that. I wonder if it's a handler that he thinks is his mother.
Right. I don't know. Or Steven thinks he's actually calling his mom, Yeah. So, I don't know. This is going to be a fun... Like, I know a lot of this... It's only 6 episodes, but a lot of this I know is going to be messing with our minds a whole lot, just as much as this episode did. Something is going on with Steven, and that much is especially apparent when he suddenly awakens in the middle of a big field. A strange voice asks him to let Mark take control, as he is soon shot by strange men by a castle, which was really weird, by the way. A lot of people say or are theorizing that this is Latvia, is where he's at, where is Dr. Doom's city. So
I did think I liked the way that they dosed it with humor throughout the episode too. And including here, he looks up, sees the castle. There's someone looking out of one of the windows,
Right.
and they just exchange waves,
Right. It
and then they
was
start shooting
yeah.
at him.
It's they. God, I love Marvel. The way they shot this, and it was the tones of the episode, the way that he talked to certain people. I really enjoyed this. In nearby
The
town,
stat
what
the
the
statue that he's
statue that
talking.
it's his friend that he goes, hey, he goes, don't forget to leave the tip. I was like, yeah, you're a good friend. Um, in the nearby town, the long-haired man with glass in his shoes walks past. This is Arthur, their sort of spiritual leader, and he greets his villagers, telling the gathering crowd that he intends to make this place as much like heaven as it can, and then murders a woman. Let's just call it what it is. He murdered a woman.
Yeah, but how?
So I don't know. And I don't know if so Moon Knight is possessed by a quote unquote god, quote unquote demon, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it. And that's the essential basis of his character. So I wonder if Arthur is kind of the same way, where he's
Could
possessed
be.
by I already forgot the Egyptian one they were talking about in this episode. I'm sure we'll
Because
get to it in a minute.
he takes the woman's hands in his,
Mm-hmm.
and the scale tattoo
Awesome.
on his forearm determines that she is not a good person,
Right.
has
It
not lived a
judges
good
your
life.
life, or it judges your
And
future like sins and stuff too.
what it almost seemed like is he kept holding on to her and drained the life force out of
It's
her.
what it looked like because she gets all modeled and grayed real quick, like and
Hmm.
like shrunken a little bit. But then like it just shows Stephen, and you just hear her thump and fall to the ground, and like nobody
Yeah.
reacts or anything. They just kind of drag her off. I was like, okay, so this is a daily occurrence with this guy. This town is weird, and if I was one of the ones that went through it, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, Arthur lays his eyes on Stephen and demands he hands over the strange Egyptian scarab in his possession. Surrounded by guards, there's another blackout, a moment for Mark Spector to take control. Next thing you know, a car chase ensues as Stephen takes a cupcake van and charges down the road from a whole bunch of black vans in pursuit. I want to talk about the first blackout we have here. He wakes up and he's got blood on his hands, and like the camera does a cool camera angle that comes in front of him and shows behind him. You got three guys bleeding out behind him, clearly dead, blood everywhere. And this was our first, I guess, big transition besides the one him waking up in the field. But this was our
Right.
big first transition that something different's going on here. And it was very brutal, and I was like, yes, I am here for this.
Yeah, and these other guys that remain, they get told after him, and I'm thinking, no,
Yeah,
I
no.
not after whatever they just witnessed.
Right.
I'm
This
good.
dude, this is clearly crazy. He's like, hi. And he goes, I'm trying to give it to you. He tries to give him the scarab, and he does this. He tries to dances around with it. And he goes, I promise I'm trying to give it to you. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, okay, buddy. This is very Spider-Man-ish. I'm really trying to give it to you. Oh, you gotta be a little bit faster than that if you want it. But it was really good. The car chase was really cool. The cupcake van, he has a little blackout where he wakes up with a gun. The whole back of the cupcake van's blown wide open. There's a dude that got a bullet hole in his head in the back. We see cars falling off the ridge and exploding. And I was like, okay, this is getting nuts, but this is fun. And then
He comes to from another one, and he's driving backwards.
right. And he's like, okay, we're driving backwards now. It's just his commentary is very fun. And it's the exact same thing. Like I'd be horrified, and I'd be shaking. I wouldn't know what to do. But I think my favorite part of this whole scene was the glass is blown out of the front of the van, but the windshield wipers are gone. Just sitting there going. I was like, okay, that's a good touch. That was very well done. He blacks out again. He wakes up in his bed. So we're all thinking, okay, just a dream. Obviously, the viewers know it's not just a dream, but to Steven, it's a dream. There's a really slick scene that cuts back and forth between Steven blacking out and these soldiers being dispatched, eventually leading to Steven waking back up in his apartment 2 days later. Gus now has.
But he doesn't.
No, he doesn't know.
But
It's
he
2 days
doesn't
later.
know,
It's
and we don't either.
And so speaking of this, the whole 2 day thing, Disney Plus tweeted out this morning. They said Happy Friday. Hope you enjoyed the weekend, and had then put a hashtag Moon Knight. I was like, okay, that was cool. That was fun.
Yeah.
Gus now has two fins for some reason, and his date with Dylan has gone completely awry, given it has been 2 days ago. He goes to the restaurant, and he calls her. He said, hey, I'm here. just classic, we ain't gonna be here. And she said, piss off, and just all this other stuff. And he's like, well, I don't understand. She goes, that Friday was 2 days ago. And he said, it's Friday now. It's the day after Thursday. It's Friday. And she's like, no, it's 2 days past. And that's when we get our first little inkling of all this really happened. Mm-hmm. And he still orders the steak, and he's very visibly confused. He said, well, yeah, just the best part of the steak.
Yeah, he's a vegetarian.
Yeah.
And he's so confused. He's like, I'll take the steak.
Yeah,
and that's he doesn't know what the best part is, right. What cut to order.
So it was just so fun that they did it this way. Steven notices scratches on the living room floor when he gets back to his apartment, leading to a hidden area with holding a phone inside. Numerous missed calls from someone called Layla and one from Duchamp, which seems to hint that he's living a double life. The Duchamp one I'm very curious about, and I mean obviously Layla as well. Layla has been nonstop calling this guy, and as soon as he turns on the phone, Layla does call. A strange echoing voice bleeds through as Mark, Steven's alter ego of sorts, begins to speak. He warns Steven to stop looking, but it's no good. Steven is now seeing Egyptian gods everywhere, and his blackouts are getting worse. Not only that, Arthur is on the hunt for him too.
Well, and when Layla calls, she calls him Mark.
Mm-hmm. He said, "Who's Mark?"
She's like, "Why are you talking like that?
Right?
Where have you been?"
She said, "Yeah, it's been months since I last talked to you. Where have you been?" And so there's a key that came with the phone. We don't know where the key goes to yet either. I'm sure it's going to play on later on in life. Arthur knows about Steven's plight, seemingly knowing all about the voices inside of his head. As he looks deep into Steven's eyes and places that familiar hammer down between his forearms, Arthur comments, "There's chaos in you." Only part of this episode I didn't like. I felt like that was very cheesy when they did that. But the next little bit of the scene is really well done. Well, we got to backtrack first. So after he takes that phone call, he's starting to have these little blackouts. He goes to the elevator's apartment complex, and it's very scary. And I was like, okay, we're borderline horror show at this point, and I'm okay with it, but I'm not really. Like he starts seeing this Egyptian god figure with a jackal head and everything at the end of the apartment, and like it starts running, and it's an old lady, and she gets in, and he's down on the floor. He's, it's just a nice day we're having. And he goes, I dropped my contact lens. And she said, you can tell she's scared and creeped out. She's like, this dude's crazy. He gets out. He gets on the bus. He sees the little Egyptian figure as he's riding along. Oh, it's definitely creepy. Like this whole episode was trippy. Is the best way I could describe it because it made my mind just do mental gymnastics for a lot of it.
Yeah.
So you get to the museum. We have the whole scene with Arthur and everything, and I'm like, where's the rest of these people in this museum doing while all this is going? This dude's running through things, looking completely crazy. But then we find out, Chris, they're all a part of the cult. That's how we solve this. That's why nobody really cares because they all know what's going on. Mm-hmm. Arthur waits until after hours where a strange jackal comes to life and begins chasing Steven, snarling and growling. Again, very horror-esque, very scary. Arthur wants to scare her, but as Steven locks himself in the bathroom, it seems there's no way out. Again, this is probably one of the coolest scenes of this episode. Was we have all these mirrors in the bathroom, which is very creepy, anyways. Way too many mirrors in a public restroom of a museum. Through his reflection, though, Mark urges Steven to let him take control, and with the jackal banging against the metal, Steven does just that as he turns into Moon Knight. In doing so, we get our first glance of Moon Knight complete with glowing white eyes and his white robe. This scene was very well done. And anytime we see Mark, it's a reflection of Mark. We see Steven moving around, and that's a classic horror thing of like ghosts and stuff like that. The reflection doesn't move, and it just stays in that one scene. And I was like, okay. At first, I didn't think he was going to let him take over, but then he does, and like he closes his eyes, he opens it back up, and you clearly tell it's a different person, and then the suit starts to come and transform and take over, and we see the come back into the camera comes back into the bathroom. Everything's destroyed, the jackal's dead, and we just see Moon Knight walk to the camera. And I was like, yeah, that's badass. I am all in. So this is going to be one of those shows. I'm going to hate that it's so short. But every episode is going to be a banger, and I can't wait for it.
The episode was something like 47 minutes or something like that long. And it gets to that last scene. We get the Moon Knight reveal. And I'm thinking, all right, here we go.
Yeah, it's
And
about to
of
really
course,
kick off.
yeah, and of course, the credits start, and
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, damn it,
They know what they're doing.
'cause I wanted more in the episode.
Yeah.
Um, and like you said, only 5 episodes left. They really got to quit doing this.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just
make it at least 10.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you there. At least make it 10 episodes.
Yeah.
But we're to the point now. We've already talked about it in a previous episode. Each we're going to the point now when this ends, we'll have Multiverse of Madness, and then after that, we should have a little bit of a break. The Miss Marvel happens. Like we shouldn't have that very much breaks, but until the next show. But we do have some Easter eggs we're going to talk about from BuzzFeed, and this is by Nora Dominic. First, Moon Knight kicks off with Bob Dylan's song "Every Grain of Sand." This is one of Dylan's most spiritual songs from 1981, and it came out after he became a born-again Christian. These lyrics allude to faith and spirituality, so it makes perfect sense that it would play when we first meet Arthur, who is very faithful. Also in the comics, Mark Spector dies in the desert and is resurrected by the moon god Khonshu. More on him later. So Bob Dylan's faithful lyrics also relate to Mark's Marvel Comics journey and how he became Moon Knight, aka devout servant to Khonshu. When we first meet Gus, Stephen's one-fin wonder goldfish, you can see that Stevens decorated the tank with a bunch of Egyptian artifacts. You can spot a pyramid, a boat, and more. A lot of these artifacts relate to the Afterlife, which connects to Mark Spector and how he died before being resurrected by Khonshu. Chris, what if so again, being you don't really know much about Moon Knight. What if Mark is that U.S. veteran or U.S. Marine, dies in the desert, gets resurrected, and as part of it, they resurrect him, and this kind of splits his personality, and we're born with Steven. And that's how it kind of, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Let's see what, I don't know.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, that sounds, I thought, pat myself on the back. That's a pretty good one. There are a lot of details that allude to Mark Spector's death in literally the first 5 minutes of the show. When Steven is talking to a young girl at the museum and mentions how Egyptians believed in being judged in the underworld, the girl asks Steven if it bothered him that he didn't pass the underworld's test. At this point, Steven also has no idea he's living alongside Mark. A quote, the little girl says, "And did it suck for you, getting rejected from the field of reeds?" He says, "Well, that don't make sense because I'm not dead, am I?" Chris, they're talking about this stuff, and we didn't even realize it happened.
Right. Yeah.
I just thought that was a play on words, just being funny.
Huh. No. So apparently the little girl. So who was the little girl? Was she really just a little girl?
Right.
Or is she just able to perceive things?
Oh, see? Is she someone we get a future, she's a superhero in the future somehow? Or is she like an agent of one of these Egyptian gods? I don't know. She knows too much. I don't trust her. Steven's boss at the museum is likely named after the comic book character Donna Kraft. First appearing in Mark Spector Moon Knight issue number 39 from 1992, Donna was Mark's publicist at Spector Corp, which is a company that was formed by Stephen Grant to fund his Moon Knight operations. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
When Steven leaves the museum after work, he can spot a rack of postcards that look similar to the postcards Steven says he got from his mom. My theory is that Mark is actually sending these cards to Steven and just saying they're from his mom. Smart. That's okay.
Yeah.
Steven's best friend appears to be a guy who's a human statue. While he doesn't talk back to Steven, he seemingly resembles Bertrand Crawley from the Moon Knight comics. In the comics, Crawley is a homeless man who lives on the streets of New York City and often acts as an informant for Mark Spector. Maybe it's just an allusion to it. Also, Steven's best friend forever being a statue is a subtle nod to Moon Knight comics, where Mark Spector communicates with Khonshu through a statue. Also, Mark originally dies and then awakens at the foot of a statue. That's a little bit of a reach. Moon Knight uses beautiful cinematography to depict and allude to Mark and Steven's dissociative identity disorder. A lot of mirror imagery is used to showcase Mark's two personalities, like when Steven first walks up to the museum, and when he walks away from the human statue, the mirror imagery shows that there are two sides to Mark's life. It's pretty cool. When Steven wakes up and is super confused about where he is and what is happening, he officially meets Arthur Harrow. In the comics, Arthur is a doctor who was up for a Nobel Peace Prize for his work with pain theory, but it turned out Arthur was actually involved with horrible experiments at Auschwitz, and he attempted to continue them. He made his first appearance in Moon Knight's issue number 2 in 1985. Okay, it's a little dark, but I get it.
I wonder if they'll go that route with him.
Yeah.
As far as his background.
Or if they'll do something with Hydra, maybe. Kind of connect the universe a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Arthur's comic book history connects back to the opening scene of Moon Knight. In the comics, Dr. Harrow works with pain theory, so it makes sense that in the show, Arthur walks with the glass in his shoes and tries not to feel the pain. Yep. As Stephen is observing Arthur's ritual, Arthur mentions the Egyptian goddess Ammit, that's who it was, who he is serving. Ammit was also called the devourer of the dead, eater of hearts, and great of death, and was linked to the scales of justice and afterlife belief, hence Arthur's tattoo. If a person's heart was found not to be pure, they were said to be devoured by Ammit, essentially dying a second time. We'll kind of see that in this episode. Knowing about Ammit now makes Stephen's fact about Egyptian afterlife and embalming more relevant because he talks about how Egyptians took every major organ out of the body except for the heart. He's talking to the little girl about that at the beginning. Right. When Stephen is getting ready for his date, you can see he goes from looking into a single mirror to 3 mirrors, which I'm assuming is a great nod to Stephen, Mark, and Khonshu, all inhabiting Mark's subconsciouses. I'll probably be yelling all about how brilliant the cinematography is in Moon Knight all season, so just be a fair warning from this person. That makes sense. We see the single mirror and then he does go to the 3 mirrors. So that's pretty cool. When Steven is going through Mark's phone, you can see a ton of missed calls from Layla and one from Duchamp. In the comics, Jean-Paul Duchamp is a French soldier who befriends Mark, and the two become inseparable. Duchamp is also on the mission in Egypt that ultimately got Mark killed. When Stephen flees his apartment, and another time where mirrors are used to symbolize Stephen and Mark or Khonshu cohabitating, we can see 3 images of Stephen before the camera zooms in, and we only see 2. While Mark serves Khonshu, he and Stephen are obviously much closer. A little bit of a stretch. I get it. Our first glimpse at Khonshu is so perfect, and he looks exactly like he does in the Moon Knight comics. Khonshu is the Egyptian god of the moon, and in the comics, he resurrects Mark after he dies. Then Mark becomes his avatar on Earth as Moon Knight protects the people of the night. He made his first Marvel appearance in Moon Knight's issue number 1 in 1980. Let's see. Okay, as far as the last cool mirror reference, I'll point out in this episode when Stephen enters the museum here, you can see that his reflection in the glass is likely a nod. I don't see it. Let's see. I'm going to scroll through. Some of these are not really there. We had a nice little Avatar Easter egg in Avatar The Last Airbender. This was really funny. When Arthur tells Stephen that Ammit was betrayed by her own avatars, Stephen cracks a joke about James Cameron's Avatar from 2009. Avatar and Avengers Endgame kept trading back and forth, which with the biggest global box office of all time. I don't think that's what it had anything to do with, but I thought it was very funny. He said, what like the blue people? I was like, yeah, that's good. And finally, when Stephen comes face to face with Mark, you can see hieroglyphs on the walls in the bathroom. If you look closely, the one over Stephen's shoulder resembles Khonshu. So, and that was all of that from BuzzFeed. I'm sure there are more obscure ones in there, like with license plates and things like that. But that was that one. Chris, what did you think about the first episode?
I loved it. I just wish that, like we talk about with a lot of these shows, I wish that we got a few more episodes. And I also wouldn't complain if they pushed it to an even hour per episode. I mean, another 13 minutes would have been great.
Yeah, because the end credits scenes are good 7-8 minutes full of stuff. So yeah, the same way. I'm really excited. I'm really excited where we're seeing where we're going with this. With the split personalities, and we finally see him put the suit on. I'm very curious to see how they're going to go from here, and I'm really enjoying this because I really don't know anything. Like with the Eternals and Shang-Chi, I don't really know this character. And I think that's what excites me the most because I don't really have any knowledge about this guy. So everything's just up for grabs at this point. So only news I got for you this week for everybody. HBO has revealed that House of Dragon, the Game of Thrones prequel, will premiere on August 21st. Only big notable thing. I'm excited about it, actually. The closer it gets. Game of Thrones was such a phenomenon in time. The ending season will go down as possibly one of the worst things in TV. But this one I'm really excited about. Matt Smith is one of the main characters, and I feel like he's going to do good by it. And then releases this week, I got absolutely nothing for TV. Nothing fun. So
Nothing?
Nothing.
On to movies then, huh?
Yes, sir.
Did you watch anything else?
No new movies for me this week. No, I didn't even see a touch of anything either. What about you? Did you watch anything new?
Yeah.
What you got, Chris?
Uh, well, one was a rewatch. I watched When It Was a Game, which is HBO back in the day did a series of these. There's three in the series. It's really interesting. They got their hands on a bunch of old footage, 8 and 16 millimeter film footage that players and fans took
Mm.
back in the day from about I want to say it was around from 1932 to 1957 in Major League Baseball.
Oh.
So it's on the field stuff. It's, during warm-ups and practice and stuff like that. And then over the top, they'll have um, people telling anecdotes about the time, or even in a couple of cases reciting um, poetry that's baseball related over
That's
the
pretty cool.
footage. It's really interesting to see, and most of it's in color, which is different for that era.
Right.
So that was a fun watch. Um, this other one though, I finished up the Leprechaun movies
Yeah.
with Leprechaun Origins. This was painful. Um, they said it wasn't related to the first six. It wasn't part of the Leprechaun franchise, but they called it Leprechaun Origins.
Right. How you gonna name it the same thing?
And they used one of the key lines from the very first film in this film, and the coins look the same. The Leprechaun's
Yeah.
coins. But the Leprechaun does not look like the Leprechaun that we think of.
Because it wasn't Warwick Davis anymore.
Well, yeah, but they completely redesigned it. In fact, they said it looked like it was more based on like the mole people.
Oh.
So the cast the cast was okay, but the script was just it didn't work.
Yeah.
It seemed like they did what Hollywood's done before, where they had a script that they didn't know what to do with. They're like, we kind of like the story, but it's not going to be successful on its own. So let's find a way to shoehorn it into another franchise.
Hmm.
And I think that might be what they tried to do, but it was just I gave this thing a half a star on
Really?
Letterboxd. Yeah.
Not even a full one.
Ironically, if they had just named it something else and not tied it to the Leprechaun films in any way, it probably would have been better.
Yeah.
But going in with that as your expectation, and it's not even an origin story. It takes place, so it was made in 2014. It takes place in present day. So it's like if you're telling an origin of a leprechaun, which is an ancient creature,
Right.
you should tell it anyway. It it just wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. Um, I think her name is, I should look that up. Melissa Roxburgh, I think. Let me double check here. Yeah, she's known probably best for, I know her as being on the show Manifest,
I've heard of that one.
um, about the plane crash. But it looks like she was also in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Star Trek Beyond, Marine 4. She was the most notable name that I saw in the movie.
Right.
Uh, just a very weird film. WWE Films were the main producers on it. Of course, the Dylan Postel, I think is how you say his last name, who played Hornswoggle on WWE TV,
Hmm.
was the leprechaun in this, which made it even more confusing because they had him dressed as a traditional leprechaun on their programs, but then he's hidden behind all this makeup and looks nothing like that in
Yeah,
the film.
that's different. A lot of creative, weird decisions on that one.
Yeah, so half a star.
Yeah.
Um, oh God, that was painful. I'm never watching that again. Never, never. Uh, but on to our review for the week. We watched The Other Guys, which came out in 2010. so we'll definitely be talking spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
This is your first time watching it.
this was a first time watch for me because I've said before, Will Ferrell's hit or miss with me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the basic plot of this is you start out seeing this superstar cop team of Sam Jackson and Dwayne Johnson.
Were you expecting that at all?
No, not really. Uh, that was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah. It's got
Um,
one of the most quotable movie quotes in it. It's, you ready for this? Aim for the bushes.
yeah, and there's no
No
bushes,
bushes.
no bushes at all. Is there? Uh, so these guys had stolen some diamonds, and they zip line away, and then they cut the zip line. So they're gonna try and chase after them, and they jump, and you're expecting as more of the ground comes into focus that you're going to see some bushes or trees or it's just pavement.
Yep.
So they just splat. Um, the whole premise of the film is Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell are partners, and they are the other guys. They just the nondescript,
Yep.
not very good at their job,
Your
never
backstory
really given a
characters.
chance.
Background
Yeah,
characters, rather.
and the film is basically them trying to crack this case that will make them uh, more highly thought of in the detective ranks. Um, I gave this 2.5
Mm.
on Letterboxd. I just, to me, the winners of the film, other than the Rock, Sam Jackson stuff at the beginning, because that's over in like what 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton and Mark Wahlberg are really good in this.
So
I
Michael Keaton
love
was so funny.
and the thing about if you've seen his early stuff, like The Night Shift and Mr. Mom and stuff like that, he's those little head tilts and
Mm-hmm.
those ticks that he kind of has with his the way he delivers his lines. It brings you back to that.
Yeah.
He's really fun to watch. Um,
His Bed Bath and Beyond scene was some of the
yeah,
funniest stuff. He was just talking about the sales that were going on, and then he
and
goes
then
immediately into the raping that's happening in Lower Heights or whatever. He said, "Wait,
yeah,
that's my other job." He goes, "But for real though, if you guys are around there, travel. Don't travel alone, and be careful."
yeah.
Oh
Um,
man.
so in the film, they end up cracking this case, um, saving the policeman's pension fund.
Because there was something wrong with the scaffolding permits that
Yeah,
Will Ferrell's
that's what
character finds out. And I'm just like,
got
okay.
the whole thing started. So there's two scenes in this film that kind of, I guess, typify why I'm not the biggest Will Ferrell fan. One is the good cop, bad cop scene,
Mm-hmm.
where he just loses his shit for whatever
For no
reason.
reason.
Yeah. And the other is the big boy pants scene in the police station.
Yeah.
He's just, I don't typically like over the top, silly comedy, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. Um, and he kind of came out of that era. Like Chris Farley did it really, really well.
Right.
And then everybody else that was kind of in that same time frame started doing it. And some of them do it better than others. So for me, that's just
This is
I don't know.
this is one of those classic Will Ferrell movies, though.
Yeah,
Like it's one of those very classic ones.
like Elf, I think because of the Christmas theme and everything, I can watch that. I like when he makes cameos or small supporting parts, like in Grandma's Boy.
Mm,
Um, it's just tough for me sometimes, depending on the material, if he's carrying a film.
right.
So, um, but I loved the I love the performances by Wahlberg and Keaton, and I did like the little bit where they had he keeps referring to his wife as Plain.
Plain and simple.
A- Ava Mendez plays his wife, and Natalie Zia
Uh-huh.
plays his ex-girlfriend, and then everywhere they go, attractive women are well, like coming onto him and
Hmm.
everything, and Mark Wahlberg's looking at him like, "What is going on?"
He's like, dude, how do you do that?
Like, yeah, like I that was fun, and I liked some of the other stuff that they did. The tuna bit at the
Hmm.
very beginning,
Now you feel
but
pretty stupid, don't you, huh? That didn't go the way you
it's
wanted to.
it's just the over the top stuff that gets me
Yeah,
with him
that was one of
because
my biggest parts. Like, I gave this one a 3.5 stars. This is like the second or third time at most that I've seen this movie. And I laughed a lot. I love stupid humor. I really do. And it's just how I've always been with these movies. But in this film, a lot of the jokes just went on way too long. And they
hmm
kept talking about it. Like, the one scene's like way too long. And I was like, okay, all right, let's wrap this up. But the whole the grandma scene where she was going between Will Ferrell's wife and him, and I was like, all right, we could have been done with this like two trips ago. I get what you're trying to do here, uh,
yeah,
but a lot of it is just so funny to me, and it's so very quotable. The first half of the movie is my favorite. The last half, it eh, kind of falls apart for me. But when Michael Keaton comes in to make the final arrest and everything before they get killed, and he's in his Bed Bath and Beyond uniform, I was like, dude, it's so stupid. And he goes, okay, we'll do your paperwork when we get back. I was like, okay, nice little nod to the beginning of it.
yeah,
Um, but the, when Mark Wahlberg at the end gets married, and he asked Will Ferrell's wife to be his best man, he's like, "Okay, dude, this is creepy. We got to stop doing this." It's just so funny. It's just that kind of jokes that can kind of call back to it. But yeah, that's probably my favorite part is the I forget what's his name in the meat people, the hobos. I wish I could find it because like they call it
where they want to use the Prius.
yes, that's just Dirty Mike and the boys. They said,
Yeah,
"Are you Dirty Mike? Are those the boys?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm Dirty Mike. Who's asking?" And like they go, "Oh, they're cops, right?" It's just stupid stuff like that. Just made me chuckle so much because like
yeah,
they talked about what was all done in the Prius. There's no fingerprints though. Yeah, no fingerprints, but there is a rat and a used condom back there. And I was like, "What?" So random. But like, there's so many stars in this film, like a lot of stars. Like Rob Riggle, I love Damon Wayans Jr. I love obviously Michael Keaton and everybody. But it was just a dumb fun palate cleanser of a movie, I guess.
yeah. We've seen this too with some other films that we've covered, like Hubie Halloween. I think we made the comment too. Some of the stuff just kind of dragged out.
Yeah,
Like they tried to get everything out of the joke, and then after they got everything out of it, then they kept doing it for a
yeah.
couple of more minutes, and it's like, stop.
So I wonder if
That's
those are all like, especially in this film where Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg both do improv a lot. I wonder if it was all improv and they just decided just to keep it all in, just
could be,
run it all in. So not
could
not my
be.
big
I
thing.
mean,
So
no, I mean, but that goes back to the director. When you're editing the film, you have to know where to cut,
yeah, absolutely.
and he just, yeah. So 2.5 for me. You said you gave it what, three, 3.5?
3.5.
Next week we're going further back in the Wayback Machine. Shout out to Spectre Peabody or Mr. Peabody, right?
Yeah.
Um, we're going to the Untouchables.
Yes.
This is 1987, I think. Kevin Costner, Sean Connery, um, Billy Drago, Andy Garcia, Robert De Niro.
Mm,
Really good cast.
yeah. I'm excited about this one. I've never seen it.
I think you'll like it. It's got one of the iconic movie scenes in it. So
Mm.
on to news. Variety.com. This comes from Ethan Schanfeld. Sharon Stone joins DC's Blue Beetle is villain Victoria Cord. She's been tapped to play villain Victoria Cord in DC's upcoming Blue Beetle, its first superhero movie starring a Latino character. Victoria Cord's a new character created for the film, which will premiere in theaters August the 18th, 2023.
We
So
will
we've
see.
got
We will see.
a little over a year and a half.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe
DC
2
and their
years.
movies. You know how that works.
Yeah.
So,
They could just take this and turn it into a TV series on HBO Max.
I'd be okay with it. Just go ahead and let James Gunn have it. I'm very
Raoul
curious
Max.
because it's a brand new character created for the film. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you got a whole template to work with. You have several templates to work with. But
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes you wonder why. I mean, anytime you have one of these comic book titles, you get the character and you get the villains associated with the character. Why are you, especially at launching what you hope will be a franchise?
Yep.
Why are you creating characters?
The DCEU effect.
It does mention that Raul Max Trujillo from Mayans MC also joins Blue Beetle as Carapax the Indestructible Man.
Mm.
So, yeah. That's all the movie news. Be interesting.
Yeah. Well, all the movie news that pertains to us, you know, the whole Will Smith at the Oscars really kind of took over the news beat this week.
Do you want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can. I mean, that happened a little after we recorded last week's episode.
That's always the case.
Yeah, isn't that fun how that happens? And I mean, I feel like it's being a little blown out of proportion at this point. I understand the night of, the day after, and maybe even the next day, but they are. It confuses me because a lot of people, which you know, we live here in the South, a lot of people on Facebook are saying he needs to be arrested for assault, and it's the worst things that anything's ever been done. And I'm like, he just slapped the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, you've never slapped anybody in your life?
The police obviously were on scene because they're always on scene for events like that. Chris Rock declined to press charges.
Right.
He didn't want him removed from the telecast. The Academy was going to remove him.
Right.
They asked him to leave. He refused.
That's alleged reports because from the other patrons that were around him, nobody ever asked him to leave, is what's being reported. So I don't know. It's one of those things, you know, which one do you believe? But I know that like Tyler Perry, Bradley Cooper, Denzel all talked with Will during the commercial break. His publicist even came up and talked to him during the commercial break.
His publicist was probably like, "What the hell?
I need to be getting paid more for this because this is going to be a complete shit show."
Yeah.
But I mean, we're getting to the point now. The reports of the movies that are in production right now with Will Smith are being put on pause because of all this.
So, I wonder if some of that's tied to the Academy. He resigned from the Academy,
right? Which I still think was a little.
I think the main thing that it does cost him is he won't get the screeners, and he won't get to vote. So, I mean, if he was willing to give that up, whatever.
We'll take him. We'll send him our way.
The Academy, on the other hand, has indicated that they accept the resignation, but they are still going to continue determining what, if any, other actions they're going to take. Most people I've read have said they don't think he'll lose his Oscar, which they potentially could take from him. They're saying they don't think he'll lose it. They have said that he could be banned from ever attending any future award shows. He could be, he could potentially be barred from nomination in the future, which would certainly hit his pocket because if you have that on your resume that you've won X number of awards, your price that you get paid goes up. So we'll see. I think I see both sides of it. I know that there are people out there, well, he was standing up for his wife.
Yeah.
But I also see the comedian's side of it
Right.
where y a lot of comedians, unless they obviously do not like you, like a lot of comedians were cutting jokes on Donald Trump
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't like him. But otherwise, if they put you in their act,
It's a sign of respect.
it's yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking the time to mention you in my material.
Right.
Um, I don't know. I see both sides.
Yeah.
So
That's
I,
how we've been, Jamie and I, all week. We're like, I mean, I get both sides of it, and I've seen the reports that production's being paused for the movies that he's working on filming and things like right now.
and that could be him because he's
Yeah,
probably
that's
producing
a good
some of that
point.
stuff.
I didn't even think
So he
about that.
might he might be thinking, let's let some of this blow over,
Yeah,
and
that makes sense. But it's a very sticky situation, obviously, and like Chris Rock's not even, he didn't really care. I mean, he went next couple of nights and did a comedy set,
yeah.
and
I think what made it look worse, where Will Smith was concerned, was the joke was told. There's video footage of him chuckling
mm-hmm,
at the joke and watching, and then when he sees that Jada didn't like it,
yeah,
then he's like, "Oh," and he just gets up and walks up there.
yeah,
And was it the right way to handle it?
no, I
No.
could him what
He
he
could have
said
gone up there.
afterwards. I think would have been a little bit more appropriate. I don't think we'd be
Yeah.
having this conversation still if we heard
If
him
it was a
yelling.
shouting match.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think we would have heard the conversation. It's the fact that he got up and hit him is
I
why
think
everyone's
even
upset.
if he'd walked up, gotten right in his face, grabbed his jacket, and said what he said from his seat,
Yeah,
I think it's a different
yeah,
thing. I don't think it helped either that apparently when he was walking away, he had a smirk on his face.
mm,
I haven't looked at it that close,
I
but
haven't either.
people have said that after he slapped him as he was walking away, he kind of grinned.
Mm,
And it's like, well, you had to know that this wasn't going to go over well.
right. I wonder. I mean, it could be,
What
the Oscars viewership has been going down every year. I wonder if this is a
that
ploy by the Academy.
that's what people are thinking,
It
you
could, I
know.
mean, we live in a world where that's a thing. I mean, look how
Because here's,
much publicity the Oscars has now.
I
So,
mean, is Vince McMahon producing the Oscars now?
right.
But he resigns from the Academy. We'll never know if that's actually true
Right. I mean, even the
because we're
people
not
close to him won't even know that.
we're not going to know if he's still getting the screeners or if he's
Hmm.
still voting. We won't know that. So I mean, it could be this is all a smoke screen just
Yeah.
to drive up viewership.
Which I would not put it past America or, or
Oh,
anything like
not
that.
at all.
That's how you get
Not
money.
at all.
So,
Absolutely. All right, releases this week in film world. A film that might not win any Oscars.
but
Maybe anim
could be
maybe
Jim
maybe
Carrey's last
animation.
film, though.
Really?
Hmm.
Debuting the week of 4/4 to 4/10 on April the 8th, which will be the 48th anniversary of Hank Aaron breaking Babe Ruth's home run record. Just saying. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 will hit screens in U.S. cinemas.
I'm hoping to see that this weekend. We'll see if I do or not, but I'm hoping to.
You know, I just remembered you mentioned this could be Jim Carrey's last film. He really came out and
Hmm.
had some statements about what went
Oh
on at the
yeah, yeah.
Oscars.
He was not happy about it.
No,
No. So,
no.
but
So
the report and interview happened on Friday, which is April Fool's Day, and he said this will be my last film. He says he's retiring from acting. Jim Carrey, I could see doing April Fool's joke, but apparently people closest to him are saying no, he's serious about this, and they said he might come back for a Sonic the Hedgehog 3 because he loves this project so much, but they said he's probably going to retire from acting. I said, okay,
it's also something that benefits him if he says that, and then they do want to make a part three, and they
yeah,
do want him back. He's like, well, you got to lure me out of retirement,
right.
so I'm going
You're
to
going
give
to
you
have
some more
to,
of that money.
yeah. So we'll
Although
see what happens.
I'm sure he's taking good care of his money.
Yeah,
He's
he knows what he's doing. Jim Carrey's
yeah,
Seems to be a smart guy, if you ask me.
Yeah.
On
On to games.
to video games, Chris. You been playing the MLB show?
I have, yeah. I mean,
Ooh, tell me.
it doesn't officially drop till this week.
Right.
But I got the early play period for pre-order. It plays well.
Awesome.
I like a lot of the changes that they've made. The one thing I'll say, and this is in general to Sony, to EA, probably 2K as well. I don't really play their sports titles. These companies, every time they launch a new game that has these online modes, they have server issues.
Every single time.
And every year they act like they're surprised. Oh, we weren't expecting this.
Right.
We'll do server maintenance. So the first 2, 3 days at 4 a.m. Pacific, they had to do server maintenance. Um,
It's convenient.
the first day or two, a lot of people kept getting like you'd play for an hour or so, and then you would get an unhandled server exception. So you would have to. It was fixable, like you would just close the app and then go back in, and you could play for a while longer.
Right.
But it kept doing it, and in some of these modes, like they've introduced mini seasons in Diamond Dynasty. So instead of playing head to head against another human, you play against the CPU for some pretty good rewards. But if you disconnect from the servers while you're in the game, it counts as a loss.
Oh, which
So
it's all their server issues.
yeah, so
Yeah.
so people were getting upset about that, saying, "Hey, I've won like 3 games in mini seasons, but I've gotten L's on all of them because when I exit out, the
Awesome.
server issue occurred." So, but it does seem like I played a good chunk of the night last night and didn't have any issues.
Oh,
So it
good.
seems like they've sorted it out.
Sounds like they're
Um,
beta testing it for everyone else who's gonna start playing it this week.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, not getting paid for it either. But
Right. No, don't you slow when that happens. You actually
uh,
paid them to do
yeah,
it.
yeah. But no, I would definitely recommend it for people. Um, I still say it's better than EA's. If you're playing this sort of mode, it's better than Ultimate Team
Okay.
because everything you do in the game earns you XP, and that XP applies toward Diamond Dynasty. Um, Also, if you do partake of microtransactions, you're buying stubs in this game,
Mm-hmm.
which is what you can use to buy whatever cards you need. Um, in Ultimate Team, if you take part in microtransactions, you're buying points, which only get you packs, which may or may not get you what you need.
Hmm.
So at least in this, you could drop however much money on however many stubs and buy the exact cards you're looking for.
Oh, that's
You
that's
know,
helpful then.
yeah, you feel less like you're getting robbed
Yeah.
when you.
Yeah. I don't want to be
No,
robbed.
it's not fun.
I have been replaying Immortal Phoenix Rising. Um, it came around the same time as Valhalla for me, playing it. And it's
Hmm.
the same exact controls and a little bit more comical, animated kind of stuff. But I kind of jumped back into it a little bit along with Destiny and things like that. But other than like that, that's all I played. I played a little bit of Kirby today,
What's
but
your
nothing crazy.
what's your next title? The big one that you're waiting on?
Uh, actually, it comes out this week. It's probably my next game that I'm gonna sink a lot of time into, and it's Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. Like it's all 9 movies put into one game with
Huh.
updated graphics and remasters and stuff like that. I don't know if it's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to. It's probably gonna be the next big game that I play. Um, I'm trying to see. I think this is it though for a hot minute for me. I'm scrolling through what's coming out, and there's nothing in April that I really care about. Nothing in May so far. Um, let's see. No, nothing in May. June, I don't have anything. Um, really not a whole lot until things start getting announced.
So you're
Nothing.
basically waiting on any new DLC.
Yeah, I'm just kind of waiting for
Probably.
new stuff. Like October looks like will be because October is always the big month. Forspoken for PlayStation 5, and then Gotham
Mm-hmm.
Knights comes out that month in theory.
Ooh.
Starfield in November. Actually Starfield will probably be my next big game. So
Is it this year or next that we're supposed to be getting the Wolverine game?
they haven't even announced it. I would, if I had to guess, it'd be
Next year?
late next year, the end of next year. If I had to guess, that depends on how long Insomniac's been working on it. I'm sure we'll get
Yeah.
more towards the end of the year on it because they've already teased it, and usually with their teases, they're like, okay, we're ramping up and getting close to being done. We got God of War Ragnarok supposed to come out the end of this year. They delayed Breath of the Wild 2 until spring of next year. Nintendo did, which everybody saw coming. But so,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I mean, the rest of the year is pretty smooth sailing unless something is shadow dropped or announced, and like we're supposed to potentially getting the new Forza Jedi Fallen Order game this year. It's highly been talked about because it's been several years since we had the first one, and a lot of people. It's been rumored that during the May the 4th celebration, it's going to be announced and then dropped later this year. So, which
Gotcha.
I am very hopeful for because I loved that game. So, into the news this week, we got two different news stories here. The first one is our April PlayStation Plus games have been announced. PlayStation 5 Hood Outlaws, and Legends. PlayStation 4, you get SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated and Slay the Spire. Not the biggest. Hood Outlaws was a terrible game, and I'm glad I didn't buy it. But other than that, SpongeBob would be fun. I remember playing the original game on GameCube back when I was, I think, in middle school. So, and that game came out late last year, and I was like, okay. I'm not having enough interest to buy it, but now it's free. I'll play it.
Yeah.
And then the next news story: E3 reveals there will be no show this year. Going to Variety.com by Todd Spangler. E3, which has historically been the game's biggest industry conference, is not happening at all this year. The Entertainment Software Association, the trade group that produces E3, confirmed that 2022's event's cancellation and said it was focusing on making sure, quote, the revitalized showcase sets a new standard hybrid industry events and fan engagement. The group on Thursday had previously notified partners that E3 would not be held this year as a virtual not be held as a virtual event after dropping plans to return to the show in person to LA because of the ongoing pandemic. Quote, E3 will return in 2023 with a reinvigorated showcase that celebrates new and exciting video games industry innovations, an ESA rep said in a statement. We previously announced that E3 would not be held in person in 2022 due to ongoing health risks surrounding COVID-19. Today we're announcing there will be no digital E3 showcase in 2022. I can't say I'm not surprised. A
No.
lot of people in the games industry and journalists and everything been talking about that the E3 has been dying. Last year we
Mm-hmm.
had all digital, which I thought went fairly well, but apparently they lost a lot of money off of that. And so everyone's saying, okay, it's gonna be back this year. It's gonna be in person. I think in February they said it's gonna be digital. Everyone said, okay, yeah, we're still getting it. And then this Thursday they said we're canceling it altogether. And I'm like, oh,
So,
okay.
so we talked about this last year,
Mm-hmm.
um, and we wondered if E3 was on the way out because now all these developers know that they can do it on their own.
Mm-hmm. And don't
They
have to
don't
pay
have
for
to.
it.
They don't have to pay for it. They don't have to show up in person
Right.
and the travel expense and everything. They can do it all from their headquarters, release it online, and they can all still do it in that same time frame.
Yep. All in June.
So I don't think we're ever going to see E3 again. If we do, it'll be in name only,
Right.
and it'll be maybe. I'll be honest. If I'm G4, since they're still
Mm-hmm.
trying to get
Oh, they're
themselves up and
oh yeah,
going,
they're back.
I buy the E3 name
Mm.
and I brand my video game special that every year that previews basically does the same thing.
Right.
Only you have one place that you can go to watch it all in one shot.
Well,
Something like that.
yeah. Well, the thing is, Jeff Keighley, who's been doing this for longer than I've been alive, he has his own Summerfest thing that
Mm-hmm.
got so much more recognition this past year because it premiered some great things, bigger than E3 did. And it's petty because since he started taking over, making his own kind of showcases around the same time, ESA blocked him from coming to E3s. And he says, I've been going to E3s for 25 years straight. And he's a big, journalist and things like that. And now he's got his own shows that do so much. He's the one that does the Video Game Awards in December.
Right.
He does Open Night Live in Germany, and now he does the Summerfest and all these other things. And it's so funny because he got so petty with it because obviously there was a lot of bad blood between the ESA and him. So when the news broke, he put a winky face emoji and tweeted. That's all he tweeted out. I was like, okay, we all know what that's about, Jeff. And then not even an hour after that news broke, he broke the schedule for Summerfest. And he said, like, all your biggest name titles and things are going to be here. We talked about it last year, and it's still the same thing. I think this is it. I don't think E3 is going to come back. I honestly don't. And especially not anywhere close to what we know it as. I think right now they're using the pandemic as a front, using it as the reason they're not doing it. But like even the previous years, it was dying. I mean, PlayStation, I think, saw it and knew it. I mean, they were the ones that haven't been to the past 2 or 3 E3s now, even before the pandemic. Yeah, I think 2019 was their first one. And they said, yeah, we're not going to do it. We'll just do our own stuff. And Xbox did it because they loved the atmosphere of it. And it's just how it always been done. And it's good publicity for them. But you can do your own show and your own showcase. And so save yourself a lot of money. So crazy.
It's the end of an era.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like as someone who's always wanted to be in video game journalism and follow the industry so much, that's end goal is to go to E3 for the first time, because it used to be it was only just for journalists and developers and things like that. Like it wasn't open to the public. The past couple of years they opened it up to the public before the pandemic, and so it's always been a dream. But now I'm just like, it sucks. I mean, I get it, but
it makes you wonder how other things are going to survive. I think Comic-Con will be fine because it's such a broad range of properties that they promote. Plus, you have the trade floor where comics and collectibles and all that get
one day, Chris,
swapped.
We got to go one day.
San Diego's beautiful, from what I hear.
Yeah, very, very expensive too.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Notable new releases this week. Like I said earlier, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga comes out on everything, including the Switch, April 5th, which is Tuesday. And that's the show. We had a pretty good show this week. So, Moon Knight. Can't wait to watch the next one. So, guys, thank you all so much for listening and watching this show. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Nerdwide Podcast. Don't forget to share it on all your favorite social media platforms, and don't forget to rate and review us on whatever podcasting service you use. Social media, you can follow the Nerdwide account on Twitter at nerd_wide. You can follow me at Ty_Haynes. You can follow Chris at MathTN7. If you're on the Facebook side of things, just search nerdwide.com. Follow us on that page there, and that is us. As always, this has been this week's episode of the podcast, and we cannot wait to watch our shows with you next week. Have a good one, everybody.
Later, guys.